Look, whoever you think I am, you got the wrong guy.
You were always the wrong guy.
Surprise! We got the right guy. Some washed-up Lego influencer just dropped him off. Hey, I know that fella. That's Zach Galifianakis. Why does he have little cat claws? Look, guys, he's a reject MGF custom from like 2017. He might be a bit slow, but he's our anchor being, alright? Oh, what the f***? Kangs? About time. I thought you guys run this place. Yes, it's complicated. Why did the TVA dump you guys here? What? No, we created the TVA. Cease your questioning, Spider Avenger Bug.
Very rude.
Jesus, lady, can you chill out with that?
Wade Wilson. Logan. This mouse god has informed us one Robert Downey Jr. has taken the role of Doctor Doom.
Oh, Disney relying on the Fox men to fix their shit now? We really are f***ed.
Ooh, is this Charles?
Yep, brought him back about 7 times too many, though. This one is dead.
What?
But boy, do we have some good news for you, pal. Like he said, our shit is so f***ed, so we're gonna bring back your X-Men for Avengers Doomsday. Pardon our pixie dust, we had to play it a little safe with the cast.
Why do they all look like the f***ing Mandalorian? Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Ross here, back on MGF Customs for my first showcase/review for the first time in a long time to celebrate Deadpool and Wolverine. And I don't even care that it's been over a year. We're showcasing my custom Lego Wolverine and reviewing Firestar Toys Deadpool. And this is the first video of its kind where we're showcasing a full-blown custom minifigure by me and a printed minifigure by another seller. So with all that being said, this is a custom minifigure I started on during the fallout of Hurricane Helene, literally plugging lamps into our generator like I think 10 days in to the catastrophes. So this minifigure's got a wild story behind it and a long history going all the way back to that time last year, and I finished it finally like this past summer when I started to work on it again, and patrons saw this guy a long time ago and it's nothing new for them, but for all of you guys here, I'm excited to finally share it with you and celebrate a movie that meant so much to all of us last year. And so with all that being said, let's f***ing go. Alright, man, so ever since they first revealed what Hugh Jackman's yellow Wolverine suit was gonna look like and the set photos started coming out those years ago, I knew one day I was probably gonna have to make it in Lego, but it wouldn't be until after the movie had come out and Hurricane Helene struck here in the mountains, and about 2 weeks into us not having power before we kind of finally settled into that lifestyle, living in the dark, and I plugged in a couple lamps, like I said, to my generator and got to work on heavily modifying a bootleg helmet. And as a matter of fact, I think I have an extra one so you can really see exactly where this helmet started out, even beyond the work in progress pictures. This was a completely different piece. I had to extend the wings on the helmet, I had to fill in the eye sockets, extend the cheeks over with a heavy amount of sanding also, and it came together really nicely, and I think it captured the look of Logan fully masked up as he appeared in the movie. It's not perfect by any means, and you know, if I had access to like an extra Jocka brick version or something that I could paint, obviously I might have done that, but as a second alternative option, I think this took me really far, and I am still really pleased with it. The bootleg head underneath, we don't really need to talk about because it looks a little whack. But I did like the expression on it, even if it is a little bit more of a narrow mouth. And Logan's shoulder armor also started off as a bootleg piece from AliExpress as well that I liked a lot, and decided not to opt for the magnetic shoulder plates like a lot of customizers and producers have been doing for this, because I knew I was going to need magnetic arms. That's right, the arms are magnetic on this fully custom painted minifigure, ladies and gentlemen. That is something I have never done before, and I did it simply because I needed those hands. These hands with these Wolverine claws are so outstanding and so perfect for LEGO Wolverine minifigures, but the problem is they're not really compatible with LEGO minifigure official arms, and so I had to use bootleg arms for the first time on one of my custom minifigures, and that meant the arm sockets weren't super compatible with an official LEGO body either. So how was I going to connect these arms? And it came in the form of micro magnets. So those work out really well, and they're actually kind of cool because they even allow for some extra fun posability. And if they'll cooperate, I can sometimes do stuff like this, and I can't do that on really any of my custom minifigures without a little bit of Photoshop. And I swear it works most of the time. There we go. And while we're messing with the magnetic arms, let's take the mask away for a second to give you a look at the unmasked Hugh Jackman face. Little Lego Logan here has got a UV printed face by Firestar Toys with a bootleg hairpiece that I sanded the living hell out of and then painted myself, which I think is serviceable, also imperfect, but it works for my purposes and this minifigure, and it's good enough for me. If we go ahead and spin the face around here while I'm getting really lucky and the arms are actually staying in place for some reason, I wanted to give you a better look at the neutral side of this face, which is also a very decent likeness to Hugh Jackman, and I think that this works for my custom minifigure really nicely, and I'm so glad I didn't have to paint one myself. I will acknowledge the mutton chops are slightly different from the bootleg face to Firestar Toys UV printed face, but I also don't care. And as you can see, if we go ahead and drop the helmet back onto the Firestar Toys face, it's got a really nice aggressive facial expression with the mask on. And then I'll go ahead and spin it around so you can see him with the mask on and the neutral side of the face, which I think is also a really cool look. I like this one a lot. And for now, we'll keep him in this pose and in this style, and I'll take one of the arms off just for a second to give you a better look at exactly how much work went into these arms. Getting the lines correct was obviously nothing I haven't done before, but still a little bit of a pain because working with yellow paint of any kind is really not very fun. And so that is where, of course, I will mention that the entire minifigure, yes, being 100% hand painted by me, save for those faces, was a real pain because I had to work with yellow paint, and so my compromise was using King's Gold and kind of a darker yellow instead. And this helped me a lot, and I think is actually kind of cool looking anyway, and I prefer it to regular yellow regardless. And so it worked out, but it was still really thick. It was still a real pain in the ass. And I also had to mix that dark yellow myself for the secondary color, which also turned out to be even thicker no matter how much I thinned it out and watered it down. So it was just an all-around unenjoyable task, but that's what happens when you have to work with colors like yellow or white and some others. Even so, I still managed to get all of the designs painted wrapping around all four sides of the minifigure's legs, which was obviously time consuming and took a while. And I've always notoriously hated painting legs on my custom minifigures because it just takes a lifetime and feels like I'm painting an entirely new minifigure with just how much organization and intention has to go into it. But those designs really do go all the way up and over the tops of either hip, and you can see that right there as well. And if I just take one of the arms off, you can see that those designs on the side of the torso do extend there as well. And that was a pain because I really didn't know how I was figuring out that design for a long time there. And speaking of the design, I can't go without mentioning that this design that I used on my painted minifigure here was heavily inspired by both Jin Custom and Lifebrick on Instagram, two fantastic designers and sellers of custom pad printed minifigures that I highly recommend you check out. Now, I've taken Logan's arms off for a second to swap out his hands because I've got a pair of retracted claw hands using a separate pair of the bootleg claw hands, in which, I mean, quite obviously, I just chopped them off and then painted them yet again with the same level of detail and line work, and also the little black slots there for where the claws do emerge. And so I think these are really fun. I might even display him like this just because, I don't know, I think it's a cool look, and I think they're really useful too. And we're going to take his arms off one more time because I've got a pair of muscle arms for Logan as an alternative look as well, which is something that I only did just recently. I mean, like a few days ago. Even though I finished this guy back at the start of the summer, I was like, I'm not doing the muscle arms, or I'm not doing the magnets again. I'm done. This is it. I want to move on with my life. And then I worked on some endgame customs, got it out of my system, came back to do this video, and I was like, all right, I'm never going to forgive myself if I don't just make the alternate pair of arms. And so I did, and they're pretty cool, and just create that extra alternative look for Logan that, I mean, frankly, he kind of had for a lot of the movie. And yes, he didn't have the shoulder pads on, but also I don't have magnetic shoulders, so I can't just like pull those off so easily without taking off the entire neck brace part. And if I actually remove the head, if you're curious, there is nothing under there. So before you get excited or just say, hey, well, just, I mean, I've got like Lego color plastic under there, dude. This is not a good look. We're not doing this. And so I'd have to paint an alternative neck brace without the shoulders and just cut those off. And I'm also definitely not doing that. Like I said, I barely made these muscle arms, but they are fun. And as you can see, they kind of have Logan's kind of ripped up costume, kind of the black parts painted on the edges, and I think that's kind of fun. But more than that, dude, there's just a lot of detail going on those gauntlets, and I think these ones are actually a little bit cleaner too, since it was my second go at it, and I actually think these are really nice looking, and I especially like that yellow stripe and how it turned out on these ones. I had more of a complication on the main arms, but in any case, man, it's a fun alternative look for Logan that I also very well might end up displaying him with. I don't really know yet. I'm still debating. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And here's Logan with the neutral face and the muscle arms. But yeah, dude, that's pretty much it for my custom Logan from Deadpool and Wolverine. And it's far from a perfect minifigure, but one that I put a lot of work in, and one that I am really proud of regardless of its imperfections. And that being said, there are also a lot of sculpted extensions I really didn't talk about, like the sculpted chest, which I think adds a lot to this minifigure. It's subtle, but it's there. That is a sculpted chest piece that I started with. I have a sculpted extension on the front of the hair piece, and there's also sculpted extensions on the back of the shoulder armor here and here, which were a royal pain in the ass as well, and I would have kicked myself for not acknowledging. That being said, I really loved this version of Logan from Deadpool 3. It was heavy and really dark for a Deadpool movie, no less, but it really spoke to me, and especially the exchange that he has with Laura about midway through of always being the wrong guy until he's not, and now gets a second chance and makes the most with that chance. So I wanted to make sure that this is a custom minifigure I did and that this got made, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of it down below in the comments. But yeah. Okay, and now for the review section of this video, we have Firestar Toys, Mouthy Merc, of course, Deadpool from Deadpool and Wolverine. I decided I wasn't going to make another custom Lego Deadpool minifigure, even though I had the slate and the blank minifigure ready to go and even started gathering accessories. I came very close, but I just kind of decided I didn't really feel the need to when Firestar Toys already had such a really great and affordable UV printed option with their usual really high quality UV printing that I've really come to love over the years, and I've always been a fan of theirs. And so I figure, why not just split this video up and do a review as the back half and a showcase for the first half. So I think that this is all right, because the minifigure would have looked pretty similar in style, paintwork, and detail and overall aesthetic to the original I did in 2016. Just obviously with the brand new design. And that being said, though, I think this one works really nicely. As you can see, I did actually attempt a little bit of paintwork on this guy. Literally right before filming this segment, I finally was like, all right, we gotta fill those diamonds in on the katanas, and so I did paint the diamonds in on both of the katanas that are attached to the back neck brace here that hold them in place. And that's a really cool 3D printed piece also by Firestar Toys. And yeah, one downside of the minifigures, you'll notice there is no printing on the backs of the legs, which is a little bit of a bummer, but nothing I couldn't also just kind of fix myself with a little bit more paint work if I opted for it. And in any case, you can see I do have the gold Desert Eagles from Nice Pool on this minifig, and this is kind of cool because these look really nice and really outstanding, right? They're literally just from a bootleg from AliExpress. I forget which one. I do have an extra pair of these, but I want to look it up again and just to order more to have on hand should anything happen to my existing pairs, because these are just so nice, dude, and perfectly capture that gold chrome finish that I would look for. And I absolutely would have used these on an actual custom Deadpool by myself. But anyway, man, I love the design work on this minifigure. I love the print work. And if we go ahead and remove the main head here as my minifig stand nearly collapses, I did want to give you a quick little peek at the back of the torso before we begin to take a look at the alternative faces, and so that's definitely a nice design there as well. So now I've got him with the katanas in both hands. I've also given the gold Desert Eagles back to Nice Pool for the moment, as I'd like to show you the variety of alternative heads I also picked up from Firestar for this minifig. I can't decide if these are more tired eyes or lazy eyes or annoyed eyes. These are definitely the wide surprised eyes of shock, and I like this one. These are really fun. I've used them in a couple edits already. This is cool because this is the exact expression I went for on my own custom Deadpool many years ago, and really reminds me of that time. And finally, dude, we've got regular ass Wade Wilson with the kind of burn victim thing going on. It looks really good, and on the back you've got the little leftover staples from his you know, tacked on comb over, which is really cool too. I mean, you know, obviously as a customizer, I wish I could just have that pattern extend onto either side. Obviously I could go in and repaint the whole pattern myself just for fun, but I'm also too lazy and don't care enough, and this works for me for right now. And it's still fun because I also have a little bootleg piece, which is basically just his mask kind of folded up. And so this is not a Firestar Toys piece, but it is still kind of cool. I mean, it's something. It works. It looks decent enough and it fits in, so I don't totally hate it, but would never display the minifigure with it. Finally, my personal favorite that I'd like to end this segment on is kind of that, you know, happy squinty-eyed face, or, you know, he's sort of focused in or dialed in on something. I think it's looking like he's seeing Dogpool come out of that portal, man, and I think this one's just really fun and a nice little switch up and a lot more interesting than the neutral expression. I think the neutral eyes are a little boring, and so we're not going to be using that for display, but that's why Firestar obviously offers the whole head pack, man. So you have all these different expressions and different options, and it's really cool too because, you know, as a minifig customizer, unless I'm using like a 3D printed kit by someone like Benson Bone, for example, I can't so easily just keep changing out expressions on Deadpool or even Spider-Man often. So this is just really fun to have. It's something you can do more easily with printing. Another change that I would also make is having a magnetically attached back piece here instead of the neck brace. That's something that like AV Figures, my buddy Andrew, does all the time, for example. In any case, let me know what you guys think of this down below, because I could have dumped a ton of money on like Life Bricks or Jocka Bricks or anyone else's version of Deadpool pad printed on Instagram, but this was really enough for me, and I'm really happy with it. And I think, honestly, especially having it in this shot, I've really felt even more vindicated and justified in this choice. So now I get to move on with my life and work on minifigures that I would much rather be doing. And while I loved the movie, it was my favorite Deadpool by far, he himself unfortunately just didn't make the cut. Check this out, dude. Deadpool core. That's gonna do it for this video though, guys. Let me know what you thought of the format down below. The same as the showcase, just one of the customs was not mine, and that's okay. I think like these two go together really well, as does the rest of my bootleg Deadpool core back here, which I think I will probably end up doing a video on just because it's kind of cool. I have like the full Void squad from the movie as well, and then like the Deadpool core together. So I think it'll make for a fun Deadpool and Wolverine video, even if it is long overdue. But let me know what you thought of the Wolverine custom down below in the comments, guys. This is like the first full-blown custom since Green Goblin that I'm showcasing here on the channel, and similar to Green Goblin, he's just been sitting here finished for the longest time and finally got his turn. And that being said, I am of course not going to make any promises, guys, but you know, I am continuing the work once again, even as I disappear into these extended exiles. But I really appreciate those of you who are still here, and the response on the first video back with the Punisher and Spider-Man Brand New Day stuff was so fun, and it really meant a lot to me, and I hope to continue the work, right? But, you know, classes are picking up, life isn't really going that well, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what I'll have time for, and so I don't want to be, you know, making promises of like, here's what's gonna, we'll see. I'm going to continue the work though. I've been having a really good time working on Rescue and Iron Patriot for Endgame again, and then the Spider-Man villains are still going to continue where I can, right? And I miss you guys terribly. The first second that I have any progress on all this stuff, it's hitting the Patreon, as Wolverine did for the longest time. And like I said at the start of the video, they saw him like a century ago at this point. But with that said, I really hope you guys are doing all right out there. I hope things are okay. I don't know when I'll see you again for a new showcase, but I will see you again in the very near future for some kind of custom Lego minifigure video. So I hope I'll see you there, and I hope your summer's been good. Take care, everyone. And as always, keep creating. All right. Bye-bye. For Logan, an imperfect... That's cool too, I guess. Thank you for that. Now, I do also have some alternative looks for Okay, that's gone. Where did that go? Very carefully and on camera, try to just we're not going to do this. This is not a good idea. I'm going to break these claws, dude. If you couldn't already tell, I am using a pair of painted tiny... I almost said tiny tactical glove tops. That's a long time ago.